Welcome to Key to Success Academy. I'm Chandrasekhar, and we are going to talk about confessional poetry. And first thing, we have to describe the confessional poetry. What is the confessional poetry, and how many writers are there? We are going to discuss about the major writers and what does it mean by confession, right? So we have to define the confession. Confession means somebody confess that, somebody admit that they have done this, they have gone through this experience, and they have done that in their life. So there are many writers, they talk about their personal life, personal experiences, and their trouble, their struggle of their life, right? So they talk about these things. So what does mean by confessional poetry? Confessional poetry is a type of poetry where the writers, they confess that, they admit that they have gone through the situation that is very trouble, that is very difficult, right? So they talk about the personal life, they talk about the private life, they talk about their intimacy, their relationship, their life, right? And they also talk about the mental health, personal. It is just like writing a personal diary. When we write a personal diary, then we think that it is not gonna to be revealed to the public, right? So that's why it is just like writing a personal diary. When we write something that is based on our personal experience or personal difficulties, our trauma, our mental illness, we think and we cover all those things, right? And they also talk about the taboo things. Taboo things, those things are not supposed to come in the public, right? So they also talk about these things, confessional poetry. That's why it is called confessional. They confess, they admit their guilt, right? Their experience, they also write. So when we read about the confessional poetry, then we find, and these things are appeared in their poetry, right? So that's why it is called confessional poetry. So there are many things, there are many writers. We also talk about the American writers, we also talk about the Indian writers there, right? So those writers are major writers. Not there are many writers are there in confessional poetry, but we are going to talk about the major writers. Okay, let's read the text here. The confessional poetry. Confessional poetry is a genre of poetry that emerged in the United States during the late 1950s and early 1960s, characterized by its deeply personal. So the confessional poetry is a very personal, very private, right? So personal, introspective, and often autobiographical. So because they write about their life experience, their struggle, their mental illness, that the experience they have gone through. So that's why it is also called autobiographical or semi-autobiographical, we can say that. So it often autobiographical content, it focuses on the poet's inner life, okay, not the external but inner life, exploring the themes that such as mental illness, trauma, sexuality, even sexuality, family dynamics, and personal struggles, often with raw emotional intensity and sense of intimacy. Okay, they also talk about the sexuality, family trouble. These things are called a taboo situation or taboo content. So but they are shown these things, and we can see these things in their poetry, right? That's why it is called confessional. They can cover these things. These things are prohibited in society, but they can cover it. Okay, so these things are called confessional poetry. Okay, the characteristics of the confessional poetries are: first, autobiographical focus. So when we study, when we read the poetry, confessional poetry especially, then we find that these things are autobiographical. These things show their personal life, their personal experience, their intimacy, their private life, right? Their personal experience. Okay, so autobiographical focus. Confessional poetry draws heavily on poet's personal experiences. Okay, often blurring the line between art and life. Life is art and art is life. So we can find the thin layer between these art and life. So these things are there. The speaker is typically the poet, themselves sharing intimate details. They talk about their personal details, their personal life. Emotional intensity, we can get the emotional situation here, that societal attempt, and unfiltered emotions, addressing topics like depression, when we study the Sylvia Plath, then we can get the topic depression. She got depressed in her life, and she depicted these things: depression, suicidal attempt, addiction, and dysfunctional relationships. Okay, so these are the things: emotional intensity, autobiographical focus, and taboo subjects. So taboo subjects are those subjects that are not to be revealed in the public, but they reveal this. Confessional poets tackle subjects considered taboo at the time, such as mental illness, sexuality, personal trauma, breaking societal norms. And they don't follow the societal norms. They just want to break that. And when they break that, then they reveal these things. So conversational tone. So this is the language is often direct, conversational, and accessible, and creating a sense of immediacy and intimacy with the reader. So means their writing and their tone is very direct. They just want to connect to the reader. They just want to connect to the audience, right? So their conversation tone is very direct. And they talk about the psychological depth, that the genre explores the complexities of the human psyche, often delving into the poet's struggle with identity, guilt, and existential crisis. That do I belong to this society or that society? Do I belong to this earth or not here? So these things are, and why am I here? Am I here? Is there any purpose of my life? Is there a meaning of my life or not? So they talk about the existential crisis. So when you are not able to define, when you are not able to get the meaning or purpose of your life, then you are in a existential crisis. This crisis appears when you are not able to describe, when you are in dilemma that whether I belong to this or I belong to that. Symbolism and imagery. They also added imagery and symbolism in their poetry. While personal, the poems often use vivid imagery and symbolism to universalize individual experiences, making them relatable. Okay, so there are poets and their works are there. So first we talk about the Robert Lowell. Robert Lowell, he is considered as the founder of confessional poetry. So this is the notable point. We have to note it down. Consider the founder of confessional poetry, and his work is Life Study, published in 1959, marked turning point in American poetry. And the next is very important, Sylvia Plath. As we know that Sylvia Plath, she belonged to America, Boston, Massachusetts, right? So she belonged to middle class family, and her father was a professor. And what happened her life, that when she was at the age of 8, her father died because of some reason. So, and that traumatized her life, that traumatized her mind, and she started facing difficulties. And this is not only the difficulties she was facing, and when she got married in her 20s to Ted Hughes, then their relationship was not good, not well. The relationship was very in trouble, right? So because of the extramarital affair of Ted Hughes, so they got separated, they got divorced, and these things also traumatized her life, traumatized her mind, and she was in depression, she was in trauma. So these things she mentioned in her poetry, right? So that's why she is also considered as one of the major poet in the confessional poet, right? Confessional poetry. So Plath's work is first aerial. This is semi-autobiographical, we can say. Semi-autobiographical. Semi-autobiographical elements are there in aerial, and the second one is the bell jar. The bell jar. That here the bell jar represent that how this is like a bell jar. This is a jar, and it is just like a bell. That's why it is called the bell jar. So here the Sylvia Plath seems to be confined herself in this bell jar. So this also depicts the personal life, that she confined, she is not able to go outside, she is not able to break the Cinderella, right? So published posthumously after the death is landmark of confessional poetry. Poems like Daddy, right, Lady Lazarus, and Ariel explore the struggles with depression, her complex relationship with her father, and her identity as woman and mother, right? So she is famous in confessional poetry. And next is Anne Sexton, a contemporary of Prague. Sexton's poetry, including collections like The Bedlam and Part Way Back 1960 and Live or Die in 1966, dwells into her experiences with mental illness, therapy, and domestic life. And next is W.D. Nodgrass. Nodgrass, Heart's Needle. Heart's Needle. This title significance is that when we talk about heart needles, that the needle that punctures the heart means the pain, the means extreme pain that punctures the heart. So he's talk about the heart situation, the pain of the heart, right? This is another fundamental text focusing on his divorce and his relationship with his daughter. Then next is the John Berryman, and John Berryman's The Dream Songs that came in 1964 to 1969, and Indian Reach poem is the snapshot of a daughter-in-law. Daughter-in-law means how the daughter-in-law remains to be confined herself in a circle, that she is not able to break that circle, she is not able to go outside that circle. So this is the snapshot of the daughter-in-law. So let's talk about the Indian confessional poets and their works. First is the Kamala Das. Kamala Das is famous for confessional poetry, and she confesses many things, that personal lives, sexuality. She's also called the bold writer, bold poet in India. That first is the Summer in Calcutta. There are many poems are there that are covered. Those poems are covered the taboo topics, confessed many things, but we are going to talk about the major one, that is the Summer in Calcutta 1965 and the Old Playhouse and Other Poems 1973, and Imtiaz Dakar, The Parda and Other Poems 1988, and Postcard from God 1994, and I Speak for the Devil 2001, and Sharanya Manivanan, Witchcraft. Witchcraft means just like a chudel, like, okay. So here so witchcraft is, there are 5 or 10 girls are there, means they were oppressed in this society, and because of that those girls got traumatized and their mental illness, and they want to express their mental illness, but they were not able to do that. So Sharanya Manivan talk about the Witchcraft 2008, and the high priestess never marries 2016, and Sufia Khatun. So she is also the confessional poet of India, but her works are not major, but we need to know this name, Sufia Khatun. Okay, so this is all about the confessional poetry. So many things are left here, so I hope that you are going to cover those topics. At least do the summary by yourself. Okay, so thank you for watching this video, and if you are going to join any coaching center, then do come to our coaching center. This is situated Key to Success Academy in Didinagar, Raipur, and if you're not able to find the contact number, then you can get these things in the description box. So thank you for watching this video.